What's up, guys? Welcome. Thanks for joining me. Our why, I think, is everything. And so I just want to do another video. I'm doing like a very short series, but our why we do what we do, I think is everything, especially when it comes to being a believer, a follower of Jesus Christ. Are we doing things for his kingdom, to further his kingdom, just to be obedient to his kingdom? Or are things becoming ritual and performance? I think I have some thoughts, and I think we all have some thoughts on these, and they need to be talked about. Real quick, this is the Pulse, where I just aim to help myself, but anybody, to align our spiritual pulse to God's heart. Let's align our life to his motives, his desires, his standard. Let's do our best to do that. And so this video, real quick, I just want to continue this area of our motives, our intent, our heart behind what we do and why. I think our why, man, it tells a lot, but it guides really what we do. Our why, even if we tell people or not, your why, it'll determine your actions, your beliefs, why you do what you do. And so it determines so much. I think even more so, it should determine as a believer why you do what you do. Your why, where's it coming from? What's your motive? What's your intent? What's the heart behind your actions, your words, what you do? And so I looked real quick at my previous video about prayer. This is not a prayer series, but I think Jesus really confronts the why behind a prayer. So I really want to just kind of look real quick, a very quick overview of that, and hit on another, I guess, piece of the passage. I want to look at Matthew. We're going to look at Matthew chapter 6. We're continuing there. That's the main focus. I'll just say that's the main focus of these videos, this series. Because I think Jesus, when he confronts and attacks a mindset, it's like you can't get better truth than from him. When he confronts and attacks, hey, why are you doing this? And when you do this, do it in this way. He does these things. He says these truths, and I think we miss it sometimes, or we just forget. Maybe we just forget, and we get into the ritual. We get in a rut of the things we do. And I think we need this reset, this refocus, this perspective change, maybe a correction of our mindset, especially as believers. Man, we're supposed to represent him, right? If we're supposed to represent his word, his truth, we need to make sure we're in check with why are we doing what we're doing. I want to read real quick from Matthew chapter 6, verse 5 and 6. And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. He lets it be known. They do these things so that they can be seen by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. And so I just think, real quick, he also, additionally to this statement, he lays out the blueprint of a prayer. He's like, okay, I think you might be struggling. Maybe you're unsure of this prayer thing. Let me lay out the blueprint. This is kind of a standard of what it could look like, a heart behind your prayer. And he lays it out in verse 9 to 13. And we all could probably memorize it, but I think it's crucial as a follower of Jesus to really dissect his blueprint. I'm not going to spend much time on that because this is not a prayer video per se, but it's a motivation, a motive, a heart, an intent video. Is why. What's our why? What's our heart behind the things that we really, the basics and essentials of being a Christian, like prayer and giving and, just following him, like why? What's happening behind the scenes? But I want to go back. I want to go back to verse 2. Same chapter, same kind of conversation Jesus is having, but let's go back to verse 2. Verse 2 to 4. He points out another thing, kind of moving from prayer, but still in the same conversation, the same heartbeat behind what Jesus is saying. Let's read verse 2 to 4. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, to be honored by others. Same kind of heartbeat behind what he was saying about praying. Don't be like the hypocrites doing it on the streets so that they will be seen by others. He says, when you give, giving's huge. I think as Christians, we have to have a heart of giving. We should have a heart to serve and to give, provide, like help out. So he's saying, when you do this, I think Jesus is assuming, as we're following him, as we're Christians, we should have a heart to give. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, to be honored by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full. Every time he says this, he's basically saying their heart behind what they're doing is to be seen by others. And they're receiving their reward in full. They've received it. Their reward, what they wanted out of it, was to be seen by others. And they're getting it. Cool. But moving on to verse 3, when he says, but when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. I don't think Jesus is saying, you can't tell no one when you give. He's not saying literally, you can't say nothing about when you give. You can't tell no one. You can't bring this up. Like, a conversation might come into the position where you're telling about the moment you gave. Or people will ask, hey, what'd you just do? Or, hey, like, if it happens, it happens. He's not confronting, hey, you can't tell nobody about your no. But what's happening behind the scenes? Why are you doing it? Why are you giving? Are you giving like the hypocrites that are doing it on the corners, that are announcing it to everybody so that their reward, it'll be so they're known by everybody. They're known to be a giver. They're known for what they just did, what they just gave. What's happening in the heart? What's happening behind the scenes of why you're doing what why are you giving? I think we all we all know people. I pray you hear my heart behind this, and I can say this in the right way, but I think we all know people that they almost look for ways to tell. They always look for ways to announce what they just gave, what they just did. Even to like homeless. Like I'm so cautious, but I'll get into that. But we all know people that almost in a conversation, they're finding a way to slip in this moment that they just gave money to a homeless person, or they gave a homeless person a ride, or they paid someone's bill, or they paid for, or we paid for lunch that day. Sometimes they try to be so sneaky and humble about it, but the fact that you said it and weren't asked, like, we know these people that they find ways, and if you pay attention, you can decipher it. Like, you can filter, you can almost sense in your spirit, like you can sense, or sometimes it's really obvious, but you can sense someone's intent of like, that wasn't even like necessary to bring up. Like, we weren't asking, that wasn't the topic, but you felt the need to say it. Like, we know people like this. And I think Jesus on the surface is really trying to attack that mindset and confront the people that he knows will come. Like, there's people now, but people are going to come in society and culture, like, that we adopt this mindset that we have to announce and like bring up these great moments that we have done something great. We have to tell it, but let me pretend to be humble about it and be discreet. Like, well, then why'd you even bring it up? If it wasn't a conversation and you were asked, sure, don't lie. Someone asked, or it comes up in conversation, or let me say, I personally struggle. I do struggle with this sometimes because we lead in a ministry with youth, and we love to just be a part of being the hands and the feet. We do this thing called boots on ground, so we like to be a part of, let's be the hands and feet of the body of Christ. How can we go out of the walls? How can we just go and serve the community? How can we, as much as we can, we want to be a part of stuff like that. But then we also just go and walk the streets, give out whatever we can, if it's water or a gift card. Like, we like to bless people, and we like to just ask if they need prayer. And I don't like to do it with the mindset of, let's just go downtown to that certain area where we know homeless are. Like, we're not the homeless outreach. We're not the homeless ministry. Let's just go be the hands and the feet. Everybody needs prayer. Everybody needs Jesus. And so that's a part of our heart that we love to be, we like to cultivate in our culture of the youth, but we also like to take pictures and capture these moments. Just honestly, just like, oh, that was cool. Let's capture that. But also we like to post it so that friends and family can see what the youth are doing. So we can, with my mindset is like, man, maybe it can be an example to somebody. Like, oh, that's cool. I can do that. If they can do it, we can do it. So that's awesome. I think we keep our motives and our heart pure in just a very simple acts. But I know at the same time, I'm not ignorant and I'm not oblivious to the point that when we do this, people can view us a certain way, or we can almost get praised. Like, oh man, look what they're doing. Oh, you guys are all like, no, this is stuff I think we should just be doing. This is the body of this is what the church is doing. Like, and God has just blessed us and brought really us to the point of our life that we want to do that, and we can at times. So don't praise me. Actually, let me read real quick. I'm going to read Proverbs. I pray this kind of just blesses you, encourage you. Proverbs 11:25. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. I think if I can establish the mindset and just to encourage you as you're a giver, as you do these things, remember this. Remember, like, give yourself some wisdom. From Proverbs, a generous person will prosper. We can spend all day talking about what prosper means, but whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. And then Hebrews, I want to look at Hebrews 13:16. And do not forget to do good and to share with others. For with such sacrifices, God is pleased. And so I think, if anything, as much as our motives can be corrupt or can get corrupted or can just be viewed corrupt by other people, let our motives be this. For with such sacrifices, God is pleased. As we give, as we do these things, especially in the ministry and as believers, as we find these opportunities to give, to bless, to pay for, whatever it is our heart to please God? Like, man, it's okay. Let's do these things. But like Hebrews, it says, it's like doing that thing, making that sacrifice, it pleases God. Or are we too distracted by pleasing ourselves by being noticed by others? You know what I mean? Like, there's that thin line, I think, that a lot of us can and maybe do cross. But we please ourselves. We find fulfillment in it because we're being noticed by others. We're being recognized and praised and lifted up. It's dangerous. But Hebrews says, man, in that sacrifice, let's do good. Let's do these things. And Jesus says, when you do it, let's do it with a heart to please God. And also, honestly, let's keep it so simple. Are we loving? We're told to love, right? We'll love people, care for people, the lowly. Let's lift them up. Let's encourage them. Let's be there for them. Carry each other's burdens. That's a huge one for me. When you learn that lesson, you learn it one time. You learn the importance of it. When someone helps you carry your burdens, it's like, I want to help somebody else carry their burden. Excuse me. But then the simple reality and truth that shouldn't we just obey? Like, we get so distracted, I think, but man, let's just keep it so simple. Let's love. Let's care. Let's carry each other's burdens. But let's just be obedient also. When God tells you to do it, just do it. It doesn't always have to be noticed and recognized and celebrated and, brought to everyone's attention. But man, isn't the intent to please God? What's more pleasing than in faith you're just doing this thing, praying that it blesses this person, but also knowing you're being obedient to God and He sees that. And so I just want to keep continuing provoking our thoughts, provoking our mindset, provoking the why behind what we do, the behind the scenes of our actions, what's happening behind, because that's what God sees, right? He sees the unseen. He is unseen. He sees the unseen. What's being done that nobody else sees? What's happening here? What's happening here? What's our why? Let's make sure our why is to please God, not be noticed and do a performance so we can be raised up. I just hope this encouraged and challenged somebody. I pray this blesses you. I can't wait to do the next one, kind of in the same area, but it's the same heartbeat, what Jesus is trying to tell us. Love you guys. Have a great day.